From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney Podcast.
The Ear to There Podcast, it's time to start the show. Be sure to hold on tight, here we go. Exploring all the different Disney destinations. Ear to There, it's time to start the fun.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There Disney Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and founder of Ear to There Travel, which is, of course, a Disney specialized travel agency. I'm here each and every week to take away all of that anxiety, all that stress, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip, so you can focus on the really fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And like I say, each and every week, I do all of that. I take away all that stress, all that anxiety. I take away all that time absolutely at no extra cost to you. So from getting you the best possible price on your resort, your hotel, to setting up transportation, dining reservations, fast passes, special event tickets. You want to go to one of those theme parks down the street, maybe the one with the kid with the glasses and the scar on his head, that lightning bolt thing, or you want to go see a couple of those big aquatic, is that the right word? Mammals down the road. I can help set that up as well. Think of me as the Mushu to your Mulan. I'm there to help you. I'm there to guide you. We even both have kind of funny voices. I can't do a good Mushu impression, although, to be honest with you, that usually doesn't stop me from trying. The only line I can say in that kind of Eddie Murphy voice that I think sounds okay is from Shrek with Donkey, when he's like, you ever talk to somebody who says they don't like a parfait? No, parfaits are delicious. That's horrible. That's my Eddie Murphy as Donkey, who was actually supposed to be Mushu, but let's be for real, it's the same voice. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I will be your guide, and I will do that at no cost to you. And you can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, yes, free, no obligation quote over at ear2theretravel.com. Okay, this is episode number 118 for the week of April 9th, 2018. Now grab a drink, grab a parfait, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. And just like I start each and every Ear to There Disney podcast episode off, it is time to, of course, start with the What About Bob segment of the show. That is where Disney legend and retired Imagineer Bob Gurr comes on to answer your questions. If you have a question for Bob, please call it in. The voice line is 267-551-1971. And if you don't know who Bob is, Bob's kind of a big deal. Actually, he's a tremendous deal. So Bob designed and built the monorails on both coasts, the submarine, the Omnimover system, Doom buggies, Autopia cars, Main Street vehicles, King Kong at Universal. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And he wants to answer your question, so please call the voice line with your question for Bob. And just like every other week, this segment of What About Bob is brought to you by the Waltland Bus Tour. That's where each and every month, Bob takes a group of guests around Southern California on a bus, including stops in Burbank, in Glendale, and in Los Angeles. You make all kinds of stops that are important in the history of the Disney company, but most of all in the history and life of Walt Disney. To get tickets for the Waltland Bus Tour, just stop by www.waltland.com. Okay, here's the man who created so many things on wheels that move in Disneyland and Walt Disney World, except for Spaceship Earth. That is not a ride vehicle that he enjoys hearing about or being asked about. Here he is, the one, the only, Mr. Bob Gurr.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails in the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
All right, so another question. I've never been to Las Vegas, so I never got the chance to see the Treasure Island show. But I wanted to know how many times at night did that pirate ship sink, and how the heck did you figure out how to get it to sink?
I think they never ran more than 4 shows. I think they did a show like late afternoon, and then they did, I think, 2 or maybe 3 later on into the evening. But I think, as I recall, they wound up 3 shows. It was a pretty typical, because there was so much consumables. They had to reload, all the fire, all the pyro, all that stuff, because you can't. The law wouldn't allow you to have too many explosive things to be at the scene of the show. It all had to be brought in from safety areas further back in the property. So to recycle the show, that was, it took an hour and a half to 2 hours to recycle. So it was a very complicated show. But your question is, how did I figure out how to sink it?
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
you can't. I mean, I know you can't tell me your secrets, but
oh no, there's nothing secret. No, we got the job from Steve, and in a little 2-hour meeting. And again, it was one of those things where he had been talking to other companies to do this sinking ship job out in the front of this new hotel. And it turned out other companies that, do great big Las Vegas shows, they were scared. They didn't want anything to do with water, and they didn't want underwater electricity, and they didn't want fire, and they didn't want live stunt people. They scared them too much because they're very experienced in, hazardous stuff. And the night before Stephen was going to have a major public announcement of the new hotel and the show, he still had not gotten a company to do it. So in desperation, he had his younger brother, Kenny, who runs a company called Atlantia Design, which is like, Steve Wynn having his own Disney Imagineering company. He called Imagineering and talked to, I forget, I think he talked to, trying to think now, Tony Baxter at Disney, because Kenny and Steve, Tony and Kenny were very good friends. And Kenny said, anybody can come up in the morning. And then they said, oh, well, we got a guy here. He's a old Disney guy, but he's doing some consultation. I'll send Bruce Gordon over to talk to him. So Bruce Gordon comes over and says, Gert, get up to Las Vegas tomorrow. Get your airline ticket immediately and meet Rock Hall and Monty Lundy from Technifex. They'll meet you up there. So here we are. We all fly up there and we all go to this meeting. And then Steve is showing everybody the hotel, shows them the lagoon, everything. And then he says something like, and also who's going to sink the ship? We put our hand up in the back of the crowd, and then Steve looks at me and he says, "Say, I know you," because I'd talked to him years before on another issue. So he said, "Well, come on, let's go out in the model shop and talk." So we went out there, and in about a 2-hour chat with just his chief architect and Steve and Kenny and Rock and Monty and myself, we just, did some doodling and sketching and talking, and figured out there was quite a different ways we could sink a ship like that, for the scene that he wanted. And then all of a sudden he says, "Okay, guys, you got the job. Give me a preliminary price on Friday. Goodbye." No handshake, no boilerplate, no signatures, no nothing. And that's the way you start a job in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Which was the $13 million job on a $440 million hotel, just like that. So in the next couple of weeks, I evolved through several different ways to sink the ship and got it down to where I could do it with having what I call a tilt deck. In other words, visualize a great big platform as big as that ship that has 2 bearings on a shaft, great big bearings. And it has 1 cylinder to pivot that deck up and down. So in other words, you don't have to have a ship sink straight down. Why don't you just tip it down, and that makes a simpler machine? You only got two great big bearings about 3 foot diameter and one 8-inch hydraulic cylinder. And you just couldn't get it simpler than that. So that's what I went with, and that looked good to Steve as long as substantially all the boat went down in the water. In other words, it went down to the gunnels really good. It was even better to let it tip over partly sideways because it looked like it was a worse sinking than if it just went straight down. So that was a clue. In other words, making it look more dramatic was actually simpler. So it was just nothing more than that. Just a big concrete hole, a big welded metal deck, two bearings, and one little 8-inch cylinder. Now, the trick is the boat moves onto this deck, a lot of little tricky interface stuff. And then when the boat goes down in the hole, we're actually pushing it into the hole because underneath it, we have these flotation billets that float it up and keep it up where it's supposed to be. So if the cylinder failed, it'll float back up all by itself.
Wow.
So it's a fail-safe gig.
Yeah, I like how you say it just like that, just as simple, like
yeah,
like anyone can figure it out. It just makes me laugh.
I'm not kidding you. Two bearings and one cylinder. It can't get simpler.
for you, maybe. What? How many times? Do you know how many times that sank over the years?
Oh, the last thing I knew is right around 16,000.
Wow, that you built it to last. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And thank you to Bob for answering yet another question on the show. It's hard to imagine just how many things Bob actually worked on over the years. I, for one, before I started this podcast, I never knew that he had such a long and storied career after Disney. And I love how he was like, oh, yeah, it's the simplest thing in the world. You just do this, and the pirate ship sinks. Right, sure it is. When you're a genius, maybe, when you're somebody like me who can't put together a kid's bike, you might have a little bit of trouble. Anyway, let's get into it. Here we go with episode number 118. Walt Disney World and Disneyland and the Disney Cruise Line are vacations that everyone should get the chance to enjoy. However, I know there is a big kind of hurdle for people with special needs or families who have children with special needs and figuring out exactly how to make a Disney vacation work for them. That's why this week I want to talk all about traveling to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or the Disney Cruise with someone with special needs. Joining me on this episode to talk all about Disney, Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Line, and traveling with special needs is someone who actually has to pay me to get on the show sometimes. My amazing wife, Amy Liz Ames, thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you for taking my payment. I appreciate it.
I take PayPal and Venmo.
No, but on a serious note, I really do appreciate, especially this topic. I feel really passionate about it, and I'm really looking forward to sharing our knowledge and our experience with everyone else.
Yeah, so and thanks again. And that's a joke, obviously, about you giving me money. I take all of your money. That's the way it really works in this relationship. Amy's the one that makes the money, and I just kind of recorded a podcast in a little office in our house.
Listen, it works for us.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's not true either. Okay.
No.
We're airing all of our dirty laundry to start the show.
This is totally off the subject.
Not the time and place. Well, seriously, though, this is something that I kind of want to tackle it. It's going to be a different kind of episode because when I say special needs, we were talking about it before I hit record. I don't only mean things like autism or having Asperger's or being on the spectrum, and I don't mean people, only folks who are in wheelchairs. I mean every kind of special need possible. So it's kind of a wide spectrum, broad range of special needs that we wanted to talk about.
No, absolutely. And I think that I myself am actually just experiencing so many things are considered special needs that I didn't know were even considered that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Does
kind
that
of,
make
yeah,
sense?
we're going to get into that as we go and tell you
Yes.
about our kind of personal experiences with it. But to start, let's go to start it out. Let's talk about like how good Disney is about working with you and working with, parents of kids who have issues. Well, you know what? That might be that we're going to have to go into it by an individual basis. I think going into it kind of broadly might be the wrong way to do it. So you can see I prepared for this.
No. But I think that broad is okay. But I think that you're right to say, specifically, we encountered so much help and so much assistance. And it wasn't a second of hesitation. All you have to do is say something to any Disney cast member, and they will immediately accommodate you.
It's true. So, yeah,
or figure out someone who can help you.
Absolutely right. Disney goes above and beyond, better than I thought they did as a cast member. I was a cast member a while ago.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And the stuff that they do now to accommodate guests and to help and to kind of make sure everyone has that same, like, for lack of a better word, no, this is the right word, magical experience.
No, right.
It's amazing. It's phenomenal. The lengths at which they'll go to make sure their service is above and beyond is incredible. Like, so, all right. So let's start with what I wanted to first kind of talk about is dietary restrictions, right? And I mean every kind you can think of. I mean, let's talk peanut allergies in general, gluten allergies, vegan, vegetarian. I can't believe how well Disney does with all of these types of things.
It's incredible. It really is. At this point, we've talked to so many people, who have gone to Disney or any of the Disney parks, either with an allergy or with someone in their party with an allergy. And every single time, all we hear is they went above and beyond. The chef came out and personally spoke to the member of the party with the allergy. And the chef will just make things that are nowhere on the menu.
Yeah, there's a separate part of the kitchen they use. It's not.
Yes.
They don't.
It's so
they
safe.
don't prepare the food where everyone else, who wouldn't have an allergy, they don't prepare it in the same spot.
Right, they can't.
Right, which is really neat the way they do it. And you're right, they'll have, like, say you have a child with a peanut allergy. We've had people that I've planned trips for, and we've had friends that have gone who, you put it there. What's cool is when you go into the My Disney Experience app and make a reservation, there's a little box that pops up.
Yes, I've seen that.
And says, does anyone in your party have a food allergy? You can click on it, and that's automatically on your reservation. But not only that, if it's not on your reservation, your server, the first thing they say when they come to your table is, does anyone in the party have a food allergy? Always, without fail, they ask.
Every single time. It's amazing.
And yeah, and it really helps people. And like I said, not just kids with dangerous allergies where they couldn't eat something, but with adults who have things like celiac, where if they would eat something,
They would get very sick.
They would get very sick. Their trip would be ruined. People who are vegetarian, people who are vegan, which, by the way, more power to you. I don't understand how you do either of those things.
I don't either. I don't really even know what vegan is. There are a lot more restrictions than I initially thought.
Yeah. So I have a friend of the show and a client and a listener, Jenny, who's probably listening right now, who's vegan.
Sorry, Jenny, you should teach me.
Who's vegan and has told me that Disney does an excellent job with
That's
their
so
vegan.
wonderful, because that's
And
really...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's just widespread. A lot of people are partaking in a vegan diet, and you really need help with it. Right?
Yeah, and I don't know the first thing about being vegan. Like, I had a cheesesteak for dinner last night, so I don't know. And apparently, I don't know anything about being healthy these days either. I'm eating cheesesteaks on a Sunday. But what I'm saying is, I don't know anything about it, right? So I don't know if the food's good. I don't know if it's bad. I don't know. What I've heard is every restaurant now has a vegan offering.
I have seen that.
And they're not rolled out to the stands necessarily, or the counter, or all the counter. Well, I think most of the counter service restaurants
I'm
have
pretty sure
it.
they do.
Or at least they have a vegetarian option.
Right.
We've traveled with vegetarians, or kind of vegetarians, I guess. The people that we've traveled with eat chicken. That's
We're
not a
getting
vegetarian.
totally off the.
Yeah, that's not. It's not a true vegetarian. I don't think, unless the rules have changed.
Maybe they have.
And fish.
Fish is okay, I think.
If you're a vegetarian, fish is cool.
I think so.
I don't
and
want to sound
vegan
ignorant.
is not.
Yeah, well, vegan, yeah, because it's an animal product, right?
Right.
So fish is an animal, technically.
I think that's right.
Even though there's some kind of aquatic, how do you say that? Aquatic creature. It's still an animal, right? Like I think that's technically an animal. It's not
That's
like
correct.
it's not a plant. You know, on a tangent, I read this article.
This is not your tangent already.
I read this article that these scientists believe that an octopus is the closest thing to an alien that we have on Earth.
Really? An octopus?
Yeah, apparently they have like these cognitive abilities
Oh, I didn't know that.
and they can recognize human faces.
Really?
They can like discern between different
Oh,
people.
that is really crazy.
Yeah, and they have like emotions and they it's creepy.
That's amazing.
And they have no bones, none. Like they can.
Well,
they
don't
can-
eat them either.
I read that they can fit like a whole full size octopus can fit through something like the size of a quarter.
Oh, wow. So it is like Hank.
Yeah, Hank
And
from.
Dory.
Yeah, let's bring it back to Disney.
I'm trying here. Grasping at straws.
So anyway, octopus. They're an amazing animal. Was it octopi? Is that a plural of octopus?
I think so. Should we get back though? to
Yeah,
the
I know we
subject?
should. I know I should, but
This, by the way,
Sometimes-
you guys, this is like my whole day. It's just like trying to get him off his tangent.
sometimes you just go where it takes you. Anyway,
Yes, that's
they
true.
do serve octopus in some restaurants in Walt Disney World.
Well, there you go.
Back to Disney. There we go. All right, so
But if you don't want to eat octopus, there are many options.
yes. Don't eat them. They're very intelligent
I
creatures.
know, don't eat them.
Although octopus is delicious.
Oh my God.
Anyway, let's get back on track here. Where were we? Cheesesteaks, allergies,
Vegan.
vegan. That's where we were. Okay. So yeah, so again, a lot of restaurants offer the vegan, the vegetarian options, almost all. And you know, if you don't see it on the menu, just ask. If you
Absolutely.
don't, and Disney is really good about kind of getting you what you want.
It's actually amazing. I don't know where they produce this stuff from.
No, so we have a really good experience. Now we'll kind of go into like I said, like peanut allergies. They're amazing with, you know, other tree nut allergies are fantastic. Just ask. Make sure it's on your reservation when you book it. Why are you laughing? What did I say? Tree nut? That's
No.
funny. But it's a thing, right? A tree nut allergy is a
I
thing.
wasn't laughing.
It rhymes with peanut allergy.
It does rhyme. But yeah, no, you're right. So put it on your reservation. But you are right. Just in case you forget or you can't
Mention
find
it
the
when you get to
spot.
the restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah, just always mention it. But as you said, they're very on top of it.
Now the
So let's
counter
say you're on
service, the
vacation
counter
and you
service
get
restaurants, they might not be as on top of it. So you have to tell
Well,
them
they
when you get
can't
up there.
be. But yeah, you have to tell them.
Like that, as from what I have experienced recently, like a couple weeks ago when we were there, a week and a half ago, however long ago it was, I don't remember at the counter service restaurants.
No, they
Them
they
asking
need
if
you
there was an allergy. You
because
have to kinda
you're
tell them.
choosing your own food, I guess.
Yeah, well, aren't you choosing your own food when you go to a table service restaurant? Or
Well,
they're like,
yes, but I
you get
mean-
the octopus, you get the fish, you get the steak, and that's it.
No, you're
And don't
right.
ask me anything.
You're right. But
No modifications on this menu.
anyway, you kind of derailed my point.
I'm sorry.
It's fine. Anyway, no. So, but you're going to be mindful of it anyway. Whether it's you or someone in your party, you're going to be mindful of it. So, just the second that you mention it, everyone has the knowledge, and can help you figure out, what will work for you.
Exactly. And the counter service people have it, and they know off the top of their head what
Exactly.
is allergy free on the menu.
It's
they
amazing.
instantly know.
It's part of
So,
their training.
Exactly. They're very well trained in that. And yeah, they can take care of any food allergy that you have. Just make sure you mention it when you first get up to them before you order your food, so they don't mix foods. Like they'll give you a different tray and they'll
Right.
put
They'll be
everything.
very careful.
Yeah.
Yes, they're very
So
careful.
yeah,
of that.
so just ask if you have someone in your family with any kind of food allergy. They'll take care of it. One thing, now here's where we're going to get into a little personal story. One thing that I never really knew of until kind of really recently with one of our kids is food anxiety.
I had never heard of it.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Me neither.
So this is kind of
It
what,
is.
it
It's a
is,
thing.
and this is what kind of prompted us to record this episode, and why I really really wanted Amy to be on this episode. Is we just had firsthand experience on the Disney cruise and in Walt Disney World with a child who has food anxiety. Now, doing a little research on this, it's not an extremely common thing, but it's more common
It's
than
more
you
common
might
than
think.
you think, and it's in adults as well as
Yeah, I
children.
mean, adults go through literally their entire lives getting help for it, getting therapy for it, and still don't really lick it. To be honest, like there are people who in their 60s, 70s, 80s who still have the food anxiety and eat, 5 or 6
Three
different
different
items, and
foods,
that's it. So one of our kids has a food anxiety to go along with generalized anxiety, which is what I have. I said it on the show a few times. I talked to Lee Cockrell about it back on episode, I think it was 80 something. I don't
Was
remember,
it?
70 something. I forget the number of the episode. I'll have to look that up and put it in the show notes. But I'm not afraid. I used to be a little embarrassed to talk about it, but I'm not now.
You shouldn't be.
I
no.
understand it.
I'm so happy that you're comfortable because I think it helps a lot of people who are listening. It helps to hear someone who's gone through it.
I hope so.
And who's not afraid to say it.
Yeah, my personality is very much make everything a joke and try to laugh. And so forgive me if I get a little serious about this one, but because it's affecting one of our kids,
It's a very serious subject, sure.
Yeah, it really hits home for us. It's the same thing, like why I want to do this episode. Kind of, this is a tangent, but it makes sense. And we want to talk about special needs and autism and why the charity that I want to support is concerns autism. Is we have people with autism in our family, and not our immediate family, not our kids, but I have 2 first cousins who have autism, and I see just how much their lives are affected each and every day.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's important to me and to have that charity and to make that my charity of choice. And we're going to work with more of that as we go in the future. But anyway,
Definitely.
That's another thing that triggered me to want to do this episode. But again, I probably would have had a year ago, I probably would have brought on, an expert in children with special needs to do this episode.
Absolutely.
But
now
now-
I feel like we're experts.
Now I feel like we have a little bit more that we have real life experience.
Absolutely.
Real life in the park and real life on the cruise experience with this stuff. So I think we are kind of qualified to talk more about it. So again, I have generalized anxiety disorder. I take medication for it. I've had panic attacks. Not frequently, but more often
One
than I
panic
like.
attack is enough to,
Yeah, so one panic attack is plenty for
That's
to have,
for sure.
and I'm trying to avoid that with one of our kids. So we there's things in place that we've been doing to take care of it and to help and to have it not escalate to that point.
Exactly. But do you want to, for a second, just because I was so unfamiliar with it, do you want one of us to explain really briefly what food anxiety is so people understand?
That's kind of where I was trying to get to.
go ahead.
But why don't you explain what it is? And
No,
then-
I think it could probably vary. But generally, food anxiety, at least in our experience, is, it's a fear and it's almost a phobia of trying new foods. And it's not just, my kid's a picky eater or this adult's a picky eater. It's actually a fear that if you put a food that you're not, that you don't eat all the time into your mouth, you're just afraid that something bad is going to happen. So they literally will not try something different. And it's not even, let's say, your kid likes Chick-fil-A chicken. It would be if he or she had food anxiety, they could only eat the Chick-fil-A chicken. So if you offer them a chicken McNugget, let's say, they just would not be able to eat
there's no chance.
that.
Right.
It's only one very specific type or a brand or a certain look of a food, a certain shape of a food. It's very, very widespread, and it makes it very, very difficult to dine out.
Yeah, anywhere, not just
anywhere,
not just at any Disney location, but anywhere.
Absolutely.
At home, we have 5 restaurants that we can probably go to with the kids.
That's a stretch. I think it's 3.
Maybe 3, yeah, because of this anxiety. So it's a real thing. For the longest time, we thought, no, it's just a picky thing.
Right.
They're going to grow out of it.
Exactly.
It's
a
not.
phase.
It's not what it is.
They need help to get past it.
Right. So
and it's a long process.
it is. So to bring it back to Disney, if this is something that one of your kids or you as an adult have, which is it's a very real thing.
Very real.
Disney is amazing
They're incredible.
at helping you with this. we went first to Disney World. Then we took I said this last week on the podcast, 4-night cruise, and then came back to Disney World for a couple more days. And we had this in our minds going in.
It was all I was thinking about.
Right, because our child, there's no talking them into, okay, let's try this. Or,
right.
There was no time to prepare. It's
correct.
You're just going in and you're hoping for the best. So we went and you're allowed to bring food from home, obviously, to your resort room, obviously, or on the cruise you can as well.
Yep.
It just depends on what you can really carry on. Like we had a lot of stuff. So we did GardenGrocer.com, delivered food to our resort at the start of our trip. A lot of the foods that we knew they would like, and eat at home and eat on a regular basis. And then we put a lot of those foods in our backpack. In our bags, in our checked bags for the cruise. Of course, I didn't think about it. And I didn't think that might raise a red flag for a canine unit who's going.
All our bags.
So all of our bags that had food in them were open, and there was a note inside each and every one that said, "This bag was inspected by a canine
because
unit."
there was so much food.
Because the dog was probably smelling the bag and like, "What is going on with this bag?" It's probably, there could have been anything in there. So
right.
yeah, but they let us take everything.
Yeah,
we get everything on. And what we were worried about is our child has, and I don't want to dwell too much on this one topic, but I think it's helpful to.
It's very helpful, I think.
Yeah, so our child has an issue with, they love mac and cheese, but not the Disney mac and cheese.
No, it has to
Only
be
Kraft mac and cheese.
That's why we're so limited with restaurants.
Right, there you go. Because not a lot of them serve Kraft mac and cheese. And it's got to be the little yellow noodles with it's very specific
kind.
So,
and as you can imagine, you can't make that on a cruise. Like we are fortunate enough to have a microwave when we stay in Disney because we have a Disney Vacation Club. But on the cruise ship, there's no access to a microwave.
Right.
So we knew already we were out of luck. That's like the biggest dinner item for our child, and we knew that wasn't going to be available.
So what we did was the first night, right? You talked to our server,
who was amazing,
whose name was Booty, who was awesome. So Booty from the Disney Wonder, thank you so much for your help.
This is a shout out to you. You were incredible.
And I know you're probably not listening to the podcast
you never know.
on the ship.
Yeah.
And because English definitely wasn't his first language.
No.
So he's probably not listening.
He was so
to
nice, though.
English spoken podcast.
I mean, he was just so helpful.
He was amazing. So was everyone on the ship. But and talk a little bit more, if you can, about what he did for us.
Absolutely.
With the food anxiety thing.
Absolutely. So, right. So the first night I flagged him over, made sure he was nowhere near our children, because we don't ever want them to feel like, oh, we're standing out, we need to make special accommodations. So he was so great about being very subtle. And I explained to him what was happening. So he said, listen, because I wasn't sure. I knew in Disney restaurants you could bring any food you wanted to the restaurants, but I've never seen people bring food into the cruise ship dining rooms.
Right.
So I didn't know if that was okay. So he said, absolutely, bring anything that you want, but also, can you give me an idea of anything that I can bring for your child that they could eat? So I told him the few items that I could think of, and I will tell you guys, every time we sat down, those items either were on their way or were sitting at the kids'
when
place.
we checked in.
When we got to the restaurant.
We got to the restaurant, got to our table 20 on the Disney Wonder. And there was the food waiting for them.
It was unbelievable. And so you can just imagine for a child with anxiety, or any child with any just regular nervousness,
or even in this case, a food allergy, right?
Right, or a food allergy, absolutely.
Like
to
walk
comfort. Up, right, exactly. To walk up to your table, it's already, it's a long meal. It's very fancy. You have to be dressed up, so you're kind of on edge already to get to your seat and to see the food that you feel comfortable with, that makes you happy. It made all the difference in the world.
It did, and it made the dinners go from stressful and almost, which could have been panic like inducing,
absolutely,
to fun experiences.
Yeah, no, they looked forward to it.
Yeah, that they loved, and all three kids loved, and there was no issues, and everybody got The only issue is for a 7-year-old and 2 5-year-olds, the meals are long.
They're
That's
very
it.
long.
So if you're going on a Disney cruise and you have kids, just remember the dinner will generally take about 2 hours.
Right. But don't.
It's a long meal.
It's a very long meal. Don't hesitate. We were hesitant the first night. We said, well, they're just going to have to sit and deal with it. And luckily, we have a very wise family member who said, bring sticker books to dinner.
Is that you?
No, it wasn't. It was your mom.
Okay.
And she said, bring sticker books.
I thought you just didn't want to toot your own horn.
Dinner. And I said, oh, I don't know. It's so fancy. And she said, just bring them. And that saved our life, you guys. Don't hesitate. Nobody looked at you funny. Nobody thought, oh my goodness, this kid can't get through the meal. It's a really long meal. And
It is.
and it's fun.
Our kids are used to sitting down at school and eating for 10 minutes and being
Right.
done.
Exactly.
Like they don't.
So bring
they're not-
coloring books, bring
Right.
sticker books, bring anything that will entertain them. But still, you do want them to be able to look around and take some stuff in there.
Yeah,
Fun
like
things
for
that
us.
happen.
Yeah, like for us, we're not. Listen, if your kid loves their tablet or their iPhone or
If
something,
you want to do that, do it.
do it. If that's going to keep them occupied and calm and everything during your meals, not just on a cruise, but in the parks or anywhere.
Yeah, no one looks at you.
That's your
for
thing. Do
anything.
it. We don't do that with our kids because, and this isn't. Please don't think this is like a high horse kind of thing. It's not at all. I work a lot. I see my kids as much as possible. I work from home, so I'm very lucky. But when when I'm at home, I'm in my office a lot, and I work a lot. When we're on the cruise and we're in the parks, I want to spend time with the kids. I don't really want them on their electronics a lot.
Right, you don't want them also to miss everything that's happening around them.
But that's just us. Like I don't. Again, it's not saying our way is the right way. It's just
No,
our
no,
way.
it's just one
our
way.
That's the way we do it. But
We do a lot of things wrong, you guys, but some things right.
there's a lot of not to say that the screen time is wrong. It's not wrong at all. It's just
No.
it's just a matter of preference. Like I have to be reminded constantly by my family on a trip to put my phone in my
Mostly
pocket.
the kids remind you.
The kids, because we've drilled it into their heads now. When I get on my phone to answer an email or something in the parks, they're like, "Dad, no phone in the park."
Remember, only in the hotel room.
Yeah, so- All
But
right.
either way, anyway, the point is, they go above and beyond, and I will to tell one more example if that's okay.
Yeah.
Which is so the dinner was our main concern. But it turned out that breakfast actually was a little tough. Because another item is strawberries, and usually there's so much fruit around the Disney cruise ship, and it's just everywhere. But I guess strawberries aren't really in season yet, so we couldn't find any.
Yeah.
So
Or I don't know if it's just a thing where they don't usually have
that's the one
strawberries
that
now.
they don't have
I'm not
out.
sure. I didn't do a lot
I
of
never
research.
paid attention before this.
No.
Either way, strawberries.
Strawberries, all three of our kids.
That's a
like
winner.
That's like they could live on strawberries.
Yes, and honestly, of all of the things they could pick, that's a pretty good one, right? It's on the healthier side. All you have to do on a Disney cruise is not be shy and not be nervous to ask. So the very first breakfast, I went up and I said, "Hi, I don't see any strawberries. Is there any way to obtain them?" You guys, every single time, and for lunch too, and dinner, every single meal, they got our kids strawberries.
Yeah.
And they did, and they would say, "It's going to take me 10 minutes." And I would say, "No problem, we'll just wait." And they would somewhere they would
They
find
go
the
to the
strawberries,
main kitchen,
right?
wherever that is on the ship.
But it was not close, and they would then they would find me, and
In
deliver
like a very
the strawberries.
busy cabanas.
Very busy, and I would be running around, and they would find me, and they would deliver. I mean, I'm not talking about 2 strawberries. They would give us huge bowls of strawberries, and again, it just made life so easy,
It does.
and it makes you feel comfortable and confident as well
Right. So
as
yeah.
a parent.
So exactly. And so on the cruise, in the parks, in the resorts, just don't be afraid to ask. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Disney cast members, they want to help you.
Absolutely,
They don't want you to have a bad time.
right.
The majority. of them. Listen, it's like any other job.
Sure.
You get people have bad days. But the majority of them, like I remember as a cast member, one of my favorite things that I ever got to do was to stop doing my role and help somebody with something else.
Me too.
Because you feel like, okay, look at I'm empowered
Right.
to do this for the
I
guests.
just
It's a
did
big
that.
deal.
I just made magic. Disney magic
exactly.
for them.
That's exactly what it is. So
and
don't.
for us, that was Disney magic. Every time someone got us food, that was Disney magic.
It was. So it's just, yeah, again, don't be afraid to ask. Disney cast members are there to help you, and they will 99.9% of the time, wherever you are.
And
on
if they
property.
don't, ask someone else because that person will.
Yeah, I mean, somebody will. All right, so I want to move on from the food part and talk a little bit. And you and I don't have firsthand experience with this, but we know a little bit about it.
Okay.
And it's bringing kids who have sensory awareness.
Yes. No, we know enough about it.
Kids who were on the autism spectrum, kids who have Asperger's, those kinds of, non-visible, ailments or
It's
issues.
a great way to describe it.
I think people, when they take their kids sometimes to Walt Disney World, when they take adults sometimes who have these non visible issues, they think that they're going to stand out, or they're
Absolutely.
going to be an issue, or people are going to look if their kid, or they're even their adult child or their brother and sister has a problem. And I got to be honest, dude, that can't be further from the truth.
You're so right.
So many people who go and guests who go to the parks are so hyper aware of it now that you really shouldn't be even enter your mind when you're going. And I get that it does.
Of course.
But
Me too.
We have friends who have gone to the parks whose kids have, sensory problems with hearing or problems with, like, listen, one of our kids just we're same child, again, has anxiety, and the crowds amazingly aren't really a problem.
No, they don't.
Sometimes the noise is a problem.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
well,
it's too
really,
loud.
really loud. It's
Right.
really overwhelming for anyone, especially any child, especially if they haven't been a whole lot. It's very overwhelming in general.
It can be, yeah. It
So
really can be.
imagine if on top of it,
You have, an ailment or an issue that will prevent you from, not doing everything you want to do, but kind of experience it. Why can't I speak?
it's okay. We just feel really
Experiencing
strongly about it.
Yeah, the way this is a word that they use that I don't love, but the way a typical child or a typical person would, like, again, I don't love that word, but I think people know what I'm talking about when I say it.
That's just the phrase.
It's the phrase. Yeah, I don't know.
They'll change it soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, anyway. So if your child or your adult child or your friend or whoever has issues with with the noises, feel free to bring noise canceling headphones for them to wear in the park.
That's what I was gonna say.
I that's just a little example, but I've seen
No,
it
that's a big
1,000
example.
times.
I have too.
And what you shouldn't ever feel like that's not something you should be able to do. That you definitely should be able to do that.
I'm sorry, I'm giving him a huge thumbs up because I feel so strongly. Like, you're exactly right.
Whatever
Basically,
makes the person comfortable to go, they should be able to enjoy it just like everyone else can.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. And that's why I was using the example. For us, sticker books are our winner. That's like basically our noise canceling headphones.
Yeah, because it's a distraction for them.
Exactly.
If something gets kind of overwhelming.
Right. So all I was going to say
And the
was
parks, listen, right now are overwhelming. They're crowded.
they're
almost
very
all the
overwhelming.
time.
They're
Not
very
even-
loud. There's parades. It's amazing.
Yes.
But there's always music. There's always parades. There's always a million people.
And if you're used to it,
right.
it's the best thing in the world.
It's amazing.
But if it's your first time there, you're not used to it. Even if you're a kid who doesn't have difficulty processing, this sensory like stimuli or anything like that,
it's so much.
It's still a lot to take in. So bring whatever you can within reason. You can't bring a couch and drag it around. If your
No,
kid
but
loves a couch.
generally, if there's something that you bring for your child when you leave your house at home, bring it to Disney.
Yeah.
To any Disney
Absolutely.
park,
Yep.
cruise line. It doesn't matter.
Including, service animals and
Absolutely.
That kind of thing.
Whatever
I mean,
makes their life easier at home, bring it to the park.
yeah, absolutely.
And don't ever feel self-conscious.
No. And
Because it's going to, I'm sorry, it's just
No,
going to
no.
so greatly improve their experience and your experience.
exactly. And if anybody looks at you funny, tell them to take a hike. 'Cause That's how I feel
Tell
about
them
it.
to talk to you.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. The other thing I wanted to talk about was now this is something that we, again, never thought of doing before. And it's getting a DAS card for our child with anxiety. Now, on our last several trips, let's give it a little background first. Years ago, Disney changed the the accessibility for people who couldn't wait in line for whatever reason, right? Whether it's a physical ailment, whether it's, you know, something like autism, whether it's something like anxiety, you know, they because what was happening was you were getting kind of a front of the line pass, right? So for years, if you couldn't wait in line or your child couldn't wait in a line, they would basically give you a fast pass to go right away,
Right.
to ride that attraction right away. So what happened was, first of all, it may have been a little unfair if, say, your child who has whatever ailment, whatever going on, only wanted to ride Dumbo.
Right.
And they just kept getting in the fast pass line for Dumbo all day.
It's tough for everyone else.
It's tough for everyone else. Exactly. I understand it completely.
Of course, me too.
Because if you want your child, if your child loves Dumbo or your child loves Splash Mountain, or your brother who's, you know, 50 and has special needs loves riding It's a Small World all day, I get that you want them to have that experience.
Absolutely, me too.
But the problem was that there were people taking advantage of it who didn't have a reason to.
Right.
I don't know if you remember a few years ago, that whole article blew up. I think it was in the New York Times.
Remember.
Where people were, this is so underhanded.
I know,
and so
it really
gross.
is. It really is.
Where people were paying other individuals in wheelchairs and who would legitimately get the pass
right for
themselves, but they were paying to pretend they were the party with that person who deserved the card.
So awful.
And they were paying these individuals like small fortunes to get.
Is that ridiculous?
To get front of the line fast passes for everything.
Awful.
And they were bragging on social media about how why would it take someone to do 2 days to do Magic Kingdom? They rode everything by morning.
Oh,
it was terrible.
Terrible.
And Disney decided, hey, look, we got to figure this out.
Right.
We got to change the way we're doing this disability pass because it's not working out. And people are taking advantage of it. People are making money off this. It's gross. So what they decided to do was they still have the pass, but it's a little bit different. So what you do is if you do get one of these passes, you go to whatever attraction would have the fast pass. You see what the wait time is. So say the wait time at Flight of Passage is 3 hours.
Right. That's a great example.
They tell you, okay, say it's 1 o'clock. They'll say, okay, come back. They take what they do is let's kind of get into the way they do it.
Let's get into how it works out.
So no, go ahead. So no, you don't have to look. You don't have to look at me. You can talk whenever you want.
No, just because I did this part.
Yeah. So I want Amy to kind of explain. So before we went, listen, for years, for the last few trips, we've struggled with our child with anxiety in the queues. Right? You get in the queue, the mind starts going. All of a sudden, the attraction's out. They're not riding. We're getting out of line. Like it happened time and time and time again, where we spoke to our child's doctor, and the doctor said, listen, that shouldn't happen. We're going to work through it, and we're going to figure out a way that they can wait in line eventually. But right now, it's too much. It's too overwhelming. Here's a note. Take it to Disney and say, listen, if there's any way that our child doesn't have to wait in line, we'll wait somewhere else, but we just
actually physically standing in the line
is it a big anxiety issue?
Anxiety.
So go ahead. So explain how we kind of did it.
That was great. Thank you so much. So basically, what I did was, and you know what you guys will do if you're going to get this pass. Excuse me, I think I'm losing my voice. Is you go? I had my letter, and I walked right to guest services, and so as soon as the amazing lady, it was my turn, and I told her a little bit about the situation, and that I said that I had a letter from the therapist, and actually in my case, the lady helping the cast member said, absolutely not. I do not need to see the letter. That's no problem. We'll get you guys set up. So the way that they do it is amazing. I was not familiar at all. I
had never done it. I had told clients and friends if they had an issue, to go to get services, but I'd never experienced it before.
Right. And my impression had been, and maybe in the past this was true, I guess because it's called a pass, I just kept thinking like it was something that we had to carry or something you wore, which would have been fine. But in my opinion, this is so much better. So they do something where they put it on your magic band. So basically, as soon as I told her, she got all of our magic bands set up, but particularly with the child with anxiety, I think that was the one she set up. And that enabled us to just go, and nobody had to know that this was happening. There was nothing visible on us. It was amazing. So basically, what she told me was, all you have to do is ask for a return time. And there is a cast member at every single attraction.
With FastPass.
Yes, right. Every single FastPass
it has
attraction.
to have a FastPass for it
You're
to
correct.
work.
Yes, I'm sorry. Every
So
single
like you
FastPass
couldn't do it
attraction.
at like Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse
You're right.
or something like that. But if it has a FastPass, it's fine.
Which most of them do.
Right, exactly.
Right. You're right. I'm sorry. That was a really good.
No, I just want to
important
make
thing.
sure we're giving.
No,
we're
that
giving
was
the right
super
information.
important. Absolutely. But yeah, so every FastPass attraction, there is a cast member, and their whole job is to provide return times. They have a special little machine. So you just go right up and you say, "Hi, I need a return time," and they tell you exactly what you said. So if it's 1:00 and there's a 3-hour wait for the attraction, they'll say your return time is 4:02 or whatever. And so that's great. So you're still waiting. You're just not having to stand and wait. So you can go, and do other things, either other things you have fast passes for already or things you don't need fast passes for. You can go eat, you can shop, whatever. And then you get back at 4:02. And I should say also, it's 4:02 or after. So as soon as your return time arrives, you don't have to go that second. You can actually wait. Let's say you have dinner at that time. So go eat dinner, and then after dinner you can go.
Exactly. And I will say that you can't, it's not like you can just do this ad nauseum and just keep adding and adding and adding and adding.
I was just going to say.
You can't do that. You're not taking advantage of other guests, or of the parks. You can't get another return time until you ride that attraction. So for those 3 hours, it's like while you're waiting for Flight of Passage, it's not like I can run to Navi River Journey and then the Safari and then Expedition Everest.
I said Soarin', it's in a different park.
Soarin's a different park.
But you can't do that either.
You can't do that either. But what I'm saying is you can't stack up all these return times.
No.
And then just
It's a
come
very
back at
fair
night and
system.
bang out 20 attractions in a row.
Right.
That's not how it works. It's literally there in place fairly to help your child or your adult or whoever has a very difficult time waiting in line, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whatever. It's there to help them not wait in line.
That's exactly right.
Listen, we fought it. We didn't really want to do it because I don't. So what we did was we made up a story for our child.
I'm sure you guys are familiar with doing that.
Right. That because we didn't want to, make them stand out above their siblings. We didn't want them to stand out and feel bad about something. So we pretended that, and sorry, this is a little white lie, but
you guys all do it.
Yeah, every parent does it. We pretended that because of my podcast, I have a pass to not wait in line.
It was super believable the way we said it.
And they all believed it, and it worked. And it made me feel kind of cool because the kids thought I had some kind of special
They
power.
were like, Dad, use your pass.
Right. And two, it eliminated any kind of wrong kind of feelings about that. And I have to say, listen, can this still be taken advantage of by people who don't have great morals? I don't care. I'm going to be honest. Great morals or don't have scruples. Yeah,
No, it can.
It can totally be abused still. But it's a different... listen, if you're abusing it in this way, what can Disney do?
No, and honestly, the way in which you can abuse it is not going to affect people.
Exactly.
It's not going to affect anyone else, really.
Right. You're not going to be, again, taking someone else's place on an attraction. You're not going to be riding the same thing over and over and over again just because you like Buzz Lightyear's Space Adventure.
Right.
Trying to get that galactic, what is it, the galactic hero status? I didn't get again.
He wanted it.
I was, Alexa, our oldest, had the darn stick, and she was
Oh,
controlling
she
the
did.
stick. So I couldn't stay on those
That's
targets
funny.
long enough to try to get up to 99999. And I missed a 9 there, 9. I don't know.
I think you got it. But no, you're exactly right. Yeah, the only way you can really take advantage of it is if you get the pass when you don't need it.
Right,
But
exactly.
even so, it's still not going to affect anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of just live with yourself.
Yeah,
I'm
you have
not
to
trying
go to sleep at night.
I'm not trying to overdo it. Like, I'm just being honest. I didn't want to do it when we were in our rights to do it.
Right.
I can't imagine doing it just to take advantage of
Me neither.
that. I don't get it, but that's fine. Whatever. That if you you have to go to bed at night, with
Right,
yourself.
exactly.
So whatever.
So that's on you. But really quickly, I want to say too, it is obviously we mostly in the beginning, particularly, you did use it for those very long waits. Things that we never would have otherwise been able to ride during our short trip. However, towards the end, I realized sometimes our specific child can't even wait more than 20 minutes. So we did do a couple things that literally during those 20 or 30 minutes, they would give us a return time. We were able to go and get a snack. And then just right as soon as we were done with that snack, we were able to get right onto that attraction. And that makes a huge difference.
It does. And what's funny is to just talk about anxiety for a second. And we got to an attraction early. It was my fault. I misread the return time. And we almost had to deal with a full-out panic attack because we were there early. And, oh my God, we're not going to make it. We can't ride the ride. And that's the kind of thing. That's why we got it in the first place.
That's exactly right.
I dropped the ball because I misread.
It
Because
was
I didn't bring my
confusing.
glasses on this trip.
Oh.
So you
That's
had to
right.
see me on the cruise at dinner, like when it was all dark.
That was awesome.
I was like holding the menu like 8 to like 4 feet away from my face so I could try to read the menu. So I misread the time, and yeah, talk about being anxious. We almost had an issue right there in the middle of the park, which is exactly the reason why we got the pass in the first place, is to avoid it helps tremendously. The cast members were wonderful. They really went above and beyond, and I just, if you have anyone in your party with any kind of, anything, any kind of reason that you don't think they're going to enjoy the parks as much as they should,
Exactly.
go to guest services
They will help you.
and tell them what the problem is and see how they can accommodate you, because they will.
There are so many things they can do.
Right, like say you're in an ECV or a scooter and you can't, most attractions now have, if you're able to wait in line in a wheelchair or an ECV, and most of them you can wait in line in that scooter. Or
Yes,
the
you're
ECV.
right.
Some of them you have to transfer when you get to the
Mhm.
attraction.
That's true.
There's not a whole lot of them where you can just kind of, the newer attractions like Frozen Ever After, Toy Story Midway Mania.
Right, those are set up.
Those are, no, Frozen Ever After is not. Frozen Ever
no?
After has the old
Right.
Maelstrom boat. So you
You're
have
right.
to transfer out of your chair, out of the ECV to get on that one. But I think It's a Small World. Does that have the boats that have I can't remember. A
I
lot
can't
of
remember either.
the older systems, the older boats, the boat
This is
systems.
not helpful. I'm sorry.
No, it is because a lot of them, the newer ones, you can drive your ECV right on to
That's true.
the attraction. Right, so you wait in line on your ECV with the rest of your family, and then kind of wheel it right on. Like I know Midway Mania has it. I'm not quite sure if Navi River
That's
Journey
so
has
great.
that. But it's nice because they have these like Midway Mania has this separate loading platform that
Right.
the wheelchair accessible and ECV accessible vehicles kind of veer off to, and then there's no rush to get the people loaded in. They take their
Yeah,
time,
that's
they get
amazing.
in, pull the ECV in, buckle it in, and they get to ride without having to worry about getting out of the wheelchair or ECV. That's awesome.
It makes so much of a difference.
So I think as Disney builds, I think a lot more of those vehicles.
Oh,
'cause
for
listen,
sure.
Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, and it was built in 1971, right? It was opened in 1971. So a lot of those attractions still are the original vehicles. So you have to transfer. Like Haunted Mansion, you can't be in an ECV or anything like that. to
Right.
ride.
Right.
You actually have to be able to walk on the moving platform
Right,
and get
because
in.
it's just older. It's not set up.
Right, like when we were in Disneyland, I noticed so many attractions you absolutely can't get an ECV through
Right.
the queue.
Because they
They're
haven't
just
been.
older. These narrow little queues where barely,
Right, they haven't been renovated.
right, where a person could barely get through.
Right, I remember that.
Like think about the average person was smaller in 1955
Yep,
than we are now. You couldn't, like, the queues are tiny.
they are tiny.
So out there, it's a completely different set of rules as far as the DAS pass goes.
But if you are going there,
go
to guest services
yeah,
there
and
too.
just do the same
They'll
thing.
still help you. Everyone will help you.
Yeah, it's worth it. So again, the parks are different. You know, Magic Kingdom is different than Epcot, is different than Disneyland, is different than the cruise. But there's always someone there at guest services to kind of walk you through it, to help you.
That's what the cast members are there for.
Yeah, to make sure you have just a fantastic time. So don't. And if you're booking a trip with a travel agent, if it's not me, if it is me, let us know too.
Absolutely.
We can get stuff planned ahead of your trip, like we were saying about the reservations, where we can put, you know, peanut allergy listed in the reservation. So the first thing the server sees when they get to the table on their slip is
Exactly. No,
the peanut allergy.
that makes a big difference too.
So let us know too. Like, let me know that if you're going to book with somebody else, if you're going to book with one of the other Ear to Their travel vacationeers. I like that word.
I know, I do too.
That let us know, and we'll help set that up before you go. It makes sense.
It really does make sense. And I think, and for me, an overriding feeling for this podcast, for this subject, what we always say is, listen, anytime you go on vacation, of course, it's supposed to be enjoyable, but, you know, different trips are for different reasons. For us, going to Walt Disney World is all about feeling relaxed, feeling, you know, at ease and comfortable, and being able to truly, fully enjoy yourself. There's nothing about it that's work or supposed to be stressful or supposed to, you know, worry you. It's all to have fun and to enjoy yourself. So if there is something that you can do, you know, to bring with you or to, you know, have set up for you there that's going to help you or someone in your party enjoy it, do it.
Yep, totally agree. Yeah, that's a great point. There's something you can do to take away stress or anxiety or make the trip easier. Yeah.
Or even just to enhance the trip.
Yeah,
in
so
any way.
if you need to bring your giraffe to the park.
I knew you were going to say giraffe. I don't know how I knew.
Maybe because Jack has been carrying that giraffe.
Yes,
around.
giraffe.
I don't know. For some reason, I have giraffes on the mind.
That's an odd thing to have.
Anyway, I think with that, maybe we should close down the show. With
That
the
might
giraffe.
be the...
Did you know that giraffes? No, I don't know anything
No.
about giraffes.
Oh, no.
I don't know anything about them. Except I remember that April the giraffe was pregnant.
Oh,
Remember
I
that?
forgot about April.
I thought that was a fraud. I thought that baby.
It wasn't though, right?
No, she ended up having a baby giraffe eventually.
That was legitimate.
I thought that she was. I thought it was all a scam for us to just sit and watch her.
I know you did.
I remember sitting. I was supposed to be working, and people would send me links because I made a joke about it on the podcast about
Right,
how
so you would have
she wasn't
all-
really pregnant. So, so I'd be sitting there and I get a link and I and I click it, and there she would be just walking around the enclosure.
Pregnant.
No, yeah, but you couldn't even tell she was pregnant.
No.
I thought she wasn't, but eventually she.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe that
sum
was
it up
it.
with something about the episode.
Don't bring your pregnant giraffes to Walt Disney World. Ames, thank you again for.
Thank you so much.
I think this was an important one, and I'm glad we did it. And I know I went on some tangents and some rants, but I think we got our points across.
Everything
that
was super helpful. And
I hope people
I
listen
think
to
so.
this and
I hope
say,
so,
all right,
too.
now I feel more comfortable about this thing that I have to go to Walt Disney World with. Or,
absolutely.
you know, I just whatever you can do to make people feel better and comfortable. And no, listen, you're not the first person.
Exactly.
You're not the first person that's going to guest services with whatever issue you have or you're bringing. There have been a lot of people that have brought that same problem to guest services. So
Right.
They know how to help you.
Right, they immediately do. And I'm sorry, I want to say one other thing, because we do keep saying, once you get there, go to guest services, and that's true. But what I do want to say to everyone is, for me, I also like to know things in advance. I like to know before I go, will I be able to do
We're
this?
talking to the girl who plans out, who looked at We find out we're going to dinner on a Friday night, and she starts looking at the menu at the restaurant Monday morning.
This is true. But no, I do want to know, particularly because it is for my child and not for myself. I want to know before we get there what to expect. So guys, don't ever hesitate to call Disney. And I know it's a huge, there's a lot of phone numbers, but you can really pick absolutely any phone number related to Disney, and that person can get you where you need to go, and you will get an answer to your question.
It's true.
So please, before you go, if you're worried about, can I bring this? Can this person do this? Just call before you go. You will get your answer, and most likely it will be yes. Or they will figure out how to help you. And that way you don't even have to worry. You'll already know on the plane or in the car that you'll be okay and you'll be all taken care of.
Exactly. Well said. I really have nothing else to add to that. So, giraffe for life.
That's the next shirt.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast. Thank you once again to my wife, the one, the only, the very lovely Amy Liz. I'm the only one that calls her that, but I still think it's a fun nickname. Her middle name is Elizabeth. That's kind of where that comes from. Anyway, this, I think, was not only a fun show to do, but kind of an important one. I hope we were able to help even one person. If we were able to help one person with planning a Disney trip with someone who does have any kind of special need, I hope this helps. Really, what it all boils down to is just ask a cast member, go to guest services, have them help you. You won't regret it. They are phenomenal there. They are equipped to handle everything you throw at them, and you will not regret it. So thank you again, Ames, for coming on the show. And thank you so much again for listening. If you've been here every week since I started, or this is your first episode, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please just tell someone about it, about the show. I think this is one of those episodes that is a little specific, but you might want to share it with anyone that you know is trying to plan a Disney trip. I think we did supply an awful lot of information that can be helpful, so please share this episode. And if you have any questions about anything we said or anything we mentioned, you want to learn more about it, feel free to call me. My phone number is pretty much everywhere on my site, in my email, on my Facebook page. You can call me, or you can shoot me an email to phil@eartotheretravel.com. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions about traveling to Walt Disney World, to Disneyland, the Disney Cruise, anywhere really with special needs. Okay, just remember there will be a new episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast each and every Monday. There will also be a new episode of It's a Food World with myself and Johnny Shortsleeve on Wednesday. And hopefully each and every Wednesday, we try to keep that consistent as well. So until next time, thank you again so much for listening. Thank you in advance for sharing this one. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.